Right, we're back for another week. Toby McKinnon on his best behaviour then. Tobes, firstly, beautiful sunny day, mate. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's a lovely day here. Got the umbrella, the sails up over above my head, which is fitting to have the sail up because the sails are going strongly in New Zealand. Had a big week on SEN during the week, and if you had followed our tips for the week, Paul, you would have got 130% return off our SEN track, which isn't a bad ratio if you ask me.
Mitchy side bottom, Darren Carroll. Who else did you have on, mate? I saw those guys.
Matt Lepard, Craig Knott, and Sean McNulty came on and picked. We did 4 races from Ararat, and he got 3 of the 4 winners, which is absolutely outstanding. Well defined at 860. He got Execution Oro 360 and Good Faith $2, and he picked Diamond Shadow Boxer was the only one he missed. So to pick 3 out of 4 is a pretty good effort.
He's a good man, Shawnee McNulty, actually. He's doing some good things. I noticed you talk about the sales. He's syndicating a couple of horses with some New Zealand guys as well. So I don't know whether he might have been active as well today. Daniel Hibberd joins us as well. Daniel, welcome.
Hello, Paul. Good to be back. Yes, beautiful sunny day here as well in Maroochna and Maroochna North, and it's good to be back on the show. Absolutely.
Bit of fun. COVID lockdown, so who knows what everyone's doing. Before we get too far, what about a friend of ours who was going to be married on Saturday, and she went from bawling her eyes out at 1 o'clock to pulling a wedding off at 5:30 that afternoon. How's that for an effort? One guest didn't turn up from Melbourne. They had guests come down from Melbourne and everything, and they beat the Dan's curfew and shut down, and they were able to pull the wedding off within about 4 hours. I think it's a big effort for a lot of people in a bit of chaos, fair to say, the lockdown, that's for sure.
Mate of mine was going to get married on Saturday, Paul, and of course with COVID he couldn't, so we count that as a near miss.
It's thrown a lot of things into a bit of chaos and the likes. It's not ideal, but to be honest, it's a pain in the bum. And I think Toby put a pretty good tweet message out the other day. Anyone whose name is Dan probably should stay off social media, Mr. Hibberd. That's probably a good thing for you.
Particularly when you look like he's got a bit of Scott Morrison too about him. So his name's Dan, and he looks like Scott Morrison. He's just not a popular person.
I can't win. I've got no hope.
We've actually got a few lookalikes came through today or the last couple of days as well. But I'll leave those go just for a little bit longer, Tobes. We can sit off on those. You reckon I'd have me spreadsheet? I have actually got it spreadsheet up and going. I just got to work out. Daniel. Yeah, don't worry. Agro's down the bottom corner. Everyone can see young Agro there for you, Tobes. It's all good. Doing a bit of a cup wrap, I suppose, and the likes and how things have been progressing. We'll start off. We're going to go with Ararat first. It was an interesting weekend when you think about it, boys. 2 lots of cups run over this weekend, and they're on the Friday night, which is quite unusual, to say the least.
Ararat, Albany, Albury, Addington, all on Friday night. It was all the A's Friday night, Paul.
Wow. There's some good racing in most of those countries, states too, or towns, I should say. So, Daniel, you're going to start us off with a ripping, well-deserved win, I suppose, is the best way to put it, with the Ararat Cup going to that trotter. But it was a ripping race, wasn't it?
Yeah, well defined. Won the cup for the Hargraves Ashwood combination with Ellen Stormy taking the drive. This guy's been really consistent over the last little while. He's probably prone to doing things wrong, and that sort of often has put him under a little bit of pressure in most of his races. He did run in a heat of the Great Southern Star last week, and obviously didn't make the final. But his run in the Cobram Trotters Cup was really good, where he ran second to Have Horse Will Travel, and in the Cup on Friday night he was terribly away. It was absolutely horrible out of the start, but Ellen managed to get it back into its gate, and ended up probably working out for the best. It actually ended up in the 1-1 following Have Horse Will Travel, and Ellen basically followed it the whole way until she had to to ease out to make the run, and then took most of the way up the home straight, but eventually got on terms and was able to place its head in front and get the prize there and pay a good dividend there, $8.30 to win. And a well-deserved country cup. I mean, it was probably always going to happen at some point that the horse was going to win one of these races. And, Have Horse Will Travel been in great form, obviously undefeated since coming across, but obviously it's getting up in grade now and, starts to make it a little bit harder for it, but it's would have lost no admirers on its run as well. So they certainly cleared out on the rest of them, but great effort there for Well Defined.
Well Defined, Tobes, is one of those horses, isn't he? He goes up and down in the ratings. He'll be up again a bit higher up, and so you think his form's nothing special. But if he can just get down and around the class where he's he's a very gifted trotter. A lot of people would really like to have a horse like him. He's just not quite at that A to A plus category, but he's a lovely, lovely trotter, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think they just keep throwing him in the deep end a little bit, Paul, and he keeps running good races there with the third, fourth and fifths. And Have Horse Will Travel was always suspect. It had won 6 out of 6, but it had led every time. And there was a definite feeling from talking to Ryan Duffy on my show last week that whatever happened, they were going to make sure it was parked, one off the fence. And once Jackie Barker got to the front and kept them rolling with Glorious Finale, was always going to be the hardest task yet. But Have Horse Will Travel, one off the fence on a tight track at Ararat. So it's a very different to being in front at some of the big tracks it's being on. And that paid the difference. And Well Defined, he's always been fast over that sort of 100, 200-yard dash, and that's what it became.
And you said about track knowledge, I think Well Defined understands a few of the tighter tracks here in Victoria, whereas the other bloke racing on the bigger tracks, as you said, and being in front is a key thing. Daniel, we just had an exclusive. It looks like Toby McKinnon, it looks like Bonington out, McKinnon in on my show. Poor old Bonds is gone. That's it. It's now the Toby show.
Well, I dubbed him this week Bonning Who, Paul. No one, Bonning Who is his new name. So.
We'll call him the Pie Man. Tobes, actually, and that was set in a track record time. The track was on fire. It was I know Jackie Barker set the speed out in front.
Lucky the water truck was there then, Paul.
Yeah, it was, to put it out. Yes, it could have been worse. It's going to be a long.
It wasn't working one year. Quick anecdote: one year at Ararat, about an hour before the first, the water truck wouldn't start, and phone call to a few different people, and ended up ringing Pat Driscoll and Yabby Dam Farms brought their water truck across for the night. Now, that for a great gesture, and with no cost either. Supplied 2 people on a water truck and never invoiced the club. That's what Yabby Dam Farms and Pat Driscoll are all about. Absolutely,
and they're doing a great job in getting the trotters up and going. Tobes, the Pacers Cup, it was another thrilling race. These tight tracks, I think everyone says about how to fix harness racing, but these tight tracks just throw up unique scenarios that can't happen on big tracks, don't they?
Yeah, they can, and Riley Major was probably the most supported runner in the race, Paul, and I think did start favourite over I'm Another Masterpiece. And these tight tracks, and he ran hard in front. The lead rate, and I keep being on about lead rates, but the lead rate was 29.3, which is really solid going for any class of horse when you come from gate 7. So he's done a bit of work, Riley Major. I'm Another Masterpiece was perched up on his outside. They ran the first 2 quarters in 29.7, 29.8. So they hadn't really come up for air on that 800-metre track. They ran the third quarter then in 28. And those 2 had just done too much work. It was always going to be a horse from the back. Zadaka was actually dragged. You wouldn't have shown the start. Jody really had to drag the horse all the way back to last. He gets going at about the 400-metre mark, out 3 wide. Majestic Cruise was a little bit unlucky to be carted back by Mornings there, and then it gets going on the back of Zadaka, and the 2 of them run on, and Zadaka was just too good in the end, and a great little win for Adam Cormack and Greg Norman, who have set up camp at Charlton, and great man Adam Cormack, and great win for Greg Norman too.
Oh, absolutely, and it was fitting. Won the Team Teal. The girls had a huge night at Ararat, full stop, but taking out both cups as well, and Quinellering the Trotters Cup. It's just good to see a guy like Greg Norman, because not only is he a likeable sort of guy, he's promotion of our industry. like he gets on social media, like he loves putting it out there, the things that he does, and just tries to promote it in a different way. He has so many great assets to our industry, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And Adam Cormack, who's based, or the Cormack family, they're all based in South Australia. I think they're into pig farms of all things, and they were battling away in South Australia, but sort of with Greg, they've set up camp at Charlton there on at the training centre with Mick, where Mickey Gadsden is as well. So the Cormac's putting a lot of money into the sport. They've bought some big price horses from New Zealand that'll be coming over shortly, hopefully. So they deserve all the success they get.
Absolutely, they're very, very passionate, and as I said, promotes. Daniel, we have got the Albury Cup for you to cover off on, and bit of a unique sort of a race. A little horse, Daniel, you and I both have a bit of a soft spot for in Sonny Weather taking it out, but it was an interesting cup, wasn't it?
It was. Only 5 starters. There was a late scratching with one of Beat City for Peyton. Alex was a late scratching. So over the 2,500 with a small field of 5, the first little lap and a half was pretty pedestrian. They sort of found their order pretty quickly, and you sort of thought that it might have been the end of the race. But it certainly heated up after that. Rusty Crackers, Tom Gilligan went up and sat outside Josh on Major Delico, and they really sort of ripped home from sort of basically the 1,200 metre mark onwards. And then as they turned for home, there was not much between the first 4. The brevity had sort of dropped away. And then Sonny Weaver, who does like to be driven with that sort of sprint style, was able to get out to the outside with Lee Sutton and pounced on them and was able to run over the top and win. Good to see it win a nice race. It's been going really nicely. It hasn't been able to, probably win as many races as they would have probably liked over the last little while, but it's been very consistent. And good to see Lee get a nice winner as well. He's, to come back down to Victoria, obviously. I spoke to him at Cobram when he won, driving a winner there for Gary Donaldson a couple of weeks ago, and I think Gary sort of said to him, you keep driving horses like you drive mine, it won't be long until you're on a lot of good horses and winning races again. So, he's driven that one really nicely there at Albury. Major Delico was probably very disappointing on face value. Obviously had an easy lead, but as we were just saying about tight tracks, he didn't like Albury at all, and I think that was the same for Brevity, the stablemate. They just did not like that bottom corner at Albury, and that was the thing with that particular race, is that 4 of the 5 horses in the race, or 3 of the 5, I should say, not being from that part of the world and probably never raced there, just didn't know how to get round some of the corners. Tom Gilligan, who I spoke to at Cobram Trials this morning, was a bit disappointed. He sort of thought that he put the pressure on Major Delico down the back straight and thought he might have been able to kick away and win, but he saw Sonny Weaver down the outside and ended up running 4th. They run home in 55.9, which is quite remarkable around Albury. But it was a good finish to the race. It wasn't far between the first 4, but again, it just goes to show that if they had to run that race on a big 1,000-metre track, Major Delico probably leads and probably wins. You run it on a half-mile track, and it just throws everything up in the air because the horses these days, it's a lot harder to get around those tighter tracks, and particularly Albury when there's not a lot of camber on it anyway. And then you get a result with Sonny Weaver coming down the outside and winning.
I know things have changed. I know gear and equipment's got better and all the rest. I can remember breaking a minute one night winning around Albury, and the cart was fairly sliding. 55.9, they must have been just about hanging on to the inside shaft just to stay in the seats getting around that. That's humming.
I reckon hitting that back, coming off that back straight, they would have needed a seatbelt to stay in the cart because it would have been, they were motoring then.
It is unique, and they've had a few onboard cameras at Melton and that recently. Hopefully they can make that a bit more of the norm, and I think a few of these people that give some drivers a hard time about why they didn't do this or why they might get a bit more appreciation when they see a 55.9 around Albury. I was amazed. 27.9 down the back and 28 flat home. I was like, wow, that is pretty juicy stuff, I must say. And well done to Albury, well done to Lee Sutton. He's set up at Shepherd and he's doing a good job. His dad shoes our horses, so I'll give him a bit of an extra plug, but there's no hassles there. Yes, Daniel?
I was just going to say that just on that cup night, there was Laura Crosland had a double there as well with her two horses winning. Shayla winning the String of Pearls and Rock and Feel Good winning a good race there as well. So quite a few Victorians went across. Danny Thackeray's horse in Crichton won as well. So plenty of Golden Valley flavour there at Albury on Friday night.
Lee drove that other one. I think he got a double, didn't he? He drove Danny Thackeray's horse as well. So, yep. Good night and good lot of racing. Tobes, unfortunately, I was meant to have a tile done for you and I didn't have it. But while we're just on the cups and premierships and the likes, and we're probably going to chase this up a little bit further, but you just wanted to highlight the premiership and maybe being able to get some of the betting organisations to probably set a book for the premiership here in Victoria, because it's becoming very juicy, even if it is only a month and a bit into the season already.
Yeah, 6 weeks in, Paul, and it's very tight at the top. Jack Law's just put his nose in front with 25 wins. James Herbertson, Chris Alford are both on 24. Kate Gather's got it rocketed up to 22. Greg Sugar's on 21. Those 5, all within 4 wins at the moment, are all legitimate chances, I think, of winning the State Drivers' Premiership. Probably, if you're setting a market, I sort of think Greg Sugar's would be the one I think will probably end up winning it, believe it or not, and he's currently 5th. Chris Alford would be undoubtedly probably the favourite. But then, Kate, James and Jack, they keep going, and who knows who could win it. And, yeah, it'd be great to have a market out for it. And just even if it was just, they don't have to take big bets on it, but some little bets for just some interest would be very interesting sort of stuff.
No, I'm not being silly for once, Tobes. I'm just going to say that a few weeks ago I actually said, could Kate win the premiership? And you emphatically said no, but the longer the season goes on, she's a chance of being able to win the state premiership though, isn't she? If she really wants to, she's a real chance.
I'd give you 15-1, Paul.
Yeah.
The Metro Premiership, she's $1.04. She's on 13 wins now. Anthony Butt 10, Greg Sugars, Chris Alford, Jack Law on 5, Aaron Dunn on 4. And I think, Daniel, you pointed out Aaron Dunn's figures before the show. He's had 33 drives, Aaron Dunn, for 13 wins and 15 placings. So 28 out of 33 times he's run a place.
He does it. He's doing a great job. They're having a great run, and you want to hope it continues. What will be interesting this season, boys, is when we get into the winter months, because it's going to be the first time. It's going to be a matter of, you would imagine James and Jack won't stop. But does Greg take time off and get away? Kate, you would imagine, definitely will, because she's not, so the state challenge could be very interesting as to see what they do. But you would imagine that Jimmy and Jack will keep going as hard as they can, that's for sure.
And that's where Mildura really plays a part. I mean, it's that track that not all of the big guns will actually go to, whereas the younger guys will venture up there. And if they could pinch, another 40 or 50 wins across the rest of the season up there, that could be the difference between sort of taking home the crown and finishing, a placing, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, talking to James Herbertson just recently, he said, I'm going to have to start heading up there. So it's good for Mildura racing. It's good for the States racing. And probably what Toby's saying, I'm not big on punting and the likes, but it's probably a great thing for harness racing that if they could, there'd be a lot of people tuning in just to see where it's at. And it could be, like a little bit of the stock market. If someone has a good week, they could wind them in and go from there.
With the
gallops at the moment, obviously, the corporates do have the markets available for the premiership, and obviously Jamie Carr's at this stage probably got a mortgage on the Metropolitan Premiership in Melbourne. But when you look at the numbers for the state premiership, I mean, it's a mouth-watering option that would be great to have a market with the TAB, or whether it is one of the corporates or whatever it might be. Because I'm sure there'd be some interest, because it is a very fluid market, and you could certainly find, if you thought one of them in particular, going on past records, if you thought that, for example, Alfred was a big chance of winning it, well, then you're probably going to get a little bit of value this far out from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Comandante, boys. We mentioned last week about he was a trial horse and the rest, and he offered plenty, and we were sort of all in agreement. So I don't think anyone disagreed with Daniel's comments about what he can offer, but for Peter Lane and Anita Burke, he actually finally got the chockies. I've got the video playing above you guys' head. It got a little bit iffy. We're just not far off the winning post the first time, and horse galloped underneath him. It just got a bit tricky. I was thinking, oh no, he's going to gallop again, but he got the job done, and he got it done very stylishly, didn't he, Daniel? Firstly, and we'll hear from Tobes at the end.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I had trials on Thursday night at Shep, and I hadn't looked at the field, and I didn't realise he was in. It wasn't until about half an hour before the race that I actually realised he was in the field. And luckily that one of the trials had finished, I was able to watch him. And he once he found the front, I thought there was, based on what he'd done the last couple of weeks, I thought he's just got to do everything right, and he's going to be right in this race. And he did, and it was great to see. I don't think Pete probably flinched any muscles whatsoever for the last 1,200 metres of the race. I think he sat there as still as he possibly could. But look, the horse did a great job, and that's the thing with the trials. You might find a few horses over that have done things wrong, and all it takes is a couple of encouraging performances that builds their confidence, and the next time they go at the races, they can put in a great showing, and that's what we saw with Colin Dante on Thursday.
You're wrong about one thing, Daniel. Before Tobes chimes in, he moved one muscle a lot, his head. I've never seen he was. I think they, especially the last 50, but he keeps having a good look around, Pete. He's got confidence in the way he's trotting, though. But I think he wanted to make sure he got there. Tobes, you're good mates with Pete. You've known him for a long time.
Yep, paid $9.20 to win, and Dan's just led the listeners into a $9.20 winner. So it's he's got 8 weeks now. He can miss, and his trial file's flying, and hopefully he's got a good one for us later, Paul.
Well, I think there's a bit of controversy with the Barristock winner a little bit later on. That's for sure. But
I'll put it like this, Paul. I've planted a horse in there instead, and when we get to its name, you'll understand why I referenced the planted.
Yeah. Hope we do. I know what I've got to keep doing, actually, Tobes. There's no stress there at all. I got that. Peter Lane's horse has just got about 200 metres to go, and we can see it just kicks clear.
He's still going that race. What, are you showing it 3 times or something?
No, I showed the entire race, and it goes a little bit longer, and then...
entire race.
But about here, he just starts having a good look around, Pete. But you're right, the hands and the legs do not move one bit, Daniel. And well done to Peter and Anita. I'm sorry, Tobes. It was on the run sheet, so I thought, well, I'll show it. So it's all good. You can sit forward, Tobes. There's no stress there at all. And well done, as I said, to Peter
Come on,
Lane.
we've run over it enough. He's tipped a $9.20 winner. Move on.
Notables. Is this what we call? Yeah, we do call them notables. How good am I going? Daniel, you're the first man up with what's brewing.
Yes, so Jaden Bruin at Swan Hill on Tuesday night had a double. Solomon's Abbey for Joe Costa was a good winner, led all the way in 156.5. Plenty of swoopers looked like they were going to run over the top of it up halfway up the running, but was able to kick through and held on for a win. And What a Rockstar was able to lead and went 155.7. I didn't see the race live or anything, and I knew the name, and I knew that I'd called it in a trial at Shep, but I've just been looking through the results and can't find it. So I'm assuming it was the same horse that had sort of trialled at Shep. I think they were trying to get it back in the draw from memory, and obviously that they must have succeeded because it started from the front line and was able to lead all of the way, and did go all right. I think it did go all right in the trial that night. So they've obviously done a fair bit of work with the horse to get it back into its gear and doing the right thing. And Jaden's driving very nicely at the moment there, and 155.7 around Swan Hill, certainly pretty good time.
Definitely. It's not a slow track. I think that horse has just recently changed stables is one of the reasons. I think Johnny McDermott previously trained it, but I'm not 100% sure. You boys are working on your headlines really, really well, I must say. It takes me a little bit of working out exactly what we're going to talk about. But Toby, 2 Ships docking. Normally I'd be very scared when Tobes comes up with a comment like that, I must say.
No, Paul, we're talking at Shepparton in the Lynn McPherson Memorial Breed for Speed Bronze Series Heat, and it was Brett Shipway getting a Quinella. He's only got 5 horses on his books. Nip Will Do and Louisville Lass were the 2 that rang the Quinella. He just keeps sending them around seemingly every week. They just keep going around and they keep earning a check, and Nip Will Do getting up to $91,000 now with its 7th win, with 49 minors thrown in there as well. Just great, consistent horses. And I'm going to talk a bit about horse sustainability later in the show. You know, he's got 5 horses on his books, and in the last 13 months, they've had a combined 132 starts. So that's effectively 26 per horse, or one horse, or they all race once a fortnight. So he does a wonderful job with them. He keeps them going, he keeps them racing, and keeps them going around. And he's a very funny man, Brett Shipway.
He's a great man of harness racing, that's for sure. Anyone that hasn't had a lot to do with him, he's worth just walking up alongside of him and just having a gentle conversation with him. You never know where it'll go, because he is a very, very funny man. But he loves his horses. He loves harness racing. I think that's the key part. He loves horses, but he loves harness racing, and he likes having a bit of fun, doesn't he, Tobes?
He likes the people involved in the sport too, Paul. I think he just loves that camaraderie and the friendship, don't you reckon, Dan?
I think it's just really good to see him. And people in Shepparton probably don't know too much about him, because he obviously doesn't come over here that often. And obviously with the Breed for Speed, that series of heats being run across the state at the moment. Now this was his opportunity to come over to Shepparton and to get a Quinella. It's a pretty good effort on its own, and it's great to see him. It's great to see them run the Quinella here at Shep on Thursday night.
It's not something to be sneezed at, Quinellas, that's for sure. I think a lot of people do take them for granted, and I think well done to Shippy, because, as I said, he doesn't have a big team. Daniel, Monday, Tuesday, Happy Days. Friday, Ararat Cup. Now, who wrote this slogan for a start?
Monday, Tuesday, Happy Days. Friday, Ararat Cup.
That's terrible.
It is shocking.
So, give me a break.
So the Ashwood Hargroves combination have had a big week, and Alex has had a great week. He had a driving treble there at Yarra Valley on Monday, and the Capes had trained the double. Alex drove Aces Jet for Alex Freeman early in the day. It went 2 minutes, 0.2, was able to sit in the death and was too good. Nice win there. And then Kate kicked into gear with Booker Bay late in the day in the up to 51 pace, 2 minutes, 0.7, $13 it paid. It started from the outside of the second row. And generally that's not a handy thing to do, but was able to come around and win very nicely. And then they wrapped up the day with Wow You Can Dance. Thank you, Toby. At even money favourite there, was able to win in 158.1. Tuesday, then Down Under Barkers was the next winner. It's
I'm not doing anything for Down Under Barkers, right?
No, I wouldn't. Down Under Barkers was a good winner there at Swan Hill. 22.4, $1.40 favourite, really short in the market there, but it was off the 30 metres, and probably he was certainly the horse to beat in that race. And then obviously, as we've just mentioned, with the Ararat Cup there, with well defined. So 4 winners there for the stable for the week. Obviously, not their biggest by any stretch of the imagination, but I think having a Group 3 Cup win probably trumps the 7 odd winners that they might have had the other week that they had that big time.
Just so you boys are aware, I've changed things up a little bit. You got a few close-ups of yourselves and no one else in the picture. So the general public has got no idea what Toby McKinnon was just doing there behind the scenes.
No idea what he's doing.
No, and I think they're better for it, Daniel. I think necessarily they're better.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think.
So to tell people I was dancing in the background, then
dancing
in the lead up to Daniel saying, "Wow, you can dance." Just trying to provide some humour, Paul.
I'm trying to change things up a little bit, Tobes. I'm upset in a way no one got to see it, but I'm sort of glad, because it's something that I can't get out of my mind, that's for sure. Where are we up to? Beale, Good Rain. Toby McKinnon, this one's for you, mate.
Yeah, Beale, Good Rain, this, Paul. And it's about Nick Beale and Rainmaker winning on Monday at Yarra Valley, then backing up 3 days later, Thursday at Melton, and winning on both days. And he's done a pretty good job with his horse, Nick Beale. He did work for a thoroughbred trainer for a fair while, actually, and then came across to harness racing. He's working there with David Miles. He absolutely loves the horse itself. He's more about horses than anything else, and he's got this horse and taking his time with it. It's won 4 races for him now, and it was great to see it back up and win twice in the 1 week for a young bloke who is going places in this sport. As he's probably becoming David Miles' right-hand man, I'd say.
Oh, Jaden Barker might be happy with that comment.
Well, yeah. Well,
Nick can be his left.
Nick's more on the training side of it, I suppose, Paul, than he is the driving, and Jaden is more on the driving side of it.
Yeah,
he's got a good stable of people there, David Miles. So it's no surprise he's having success. Because like what you've done, Paul, he's put good people around him, and they're making him look good.
Not a doubt in the world. There, you guys are flying for me. It's all good. You do all the homework. I just sit back and just let it all happen. It's easy. So it's very easy, very easy. This part here. Now the next. Again, who writes these things? I do not know.
McKinnon.
But
McKinnon.
A little song about Kate, Jack, and Jason. Now, I'm not sure, Daniel, you are down to talk about this one, but I'm sure Tobes is going to have to chime in with how it come about the heading.
Little song about Kate, Jack, and Jason.
I did. Thankfully, he put in the on the rundown sheet across to the right that it was to do with the treble at Ararat for Emma Stewart. Otherwise, I would have had no idea again what McKinnon was on about. So 3 winners there for Emma on Friday night. Spirited Bell was the first winner with Kate Gass in the card, $1.10 favourite. Led all the way. 159 around Ararat's pretty good going. Nice type of mare, and got the good win there. The next one was Execution Oro for Jack Law, leading and using the sprint lane to get up and winning 159.2 over the 2100 trip, which is again really good going. This horse has been pretty consistent, and of course found its right sort of race there on Friday night. And then the last winner was Exalted Figure. Winning there for Jason Lee at $1.20. Didn't really, you wouldn't want the race over again if you're a punter taking the $1.20. It was sort of wanting to really switch off with about 120 to go, but the others chasing him were sort of a bit the same. They weren't able to run over the top of him, but probably a different sort of treble, I guess, for Emma's stable. You generally would be thinking of sometimes Group 1 trebles, or for the big races trebles and things like that. But to have just 3 low country front races and she gets 3 winners, it's still a great effort.
Absolutely. Anyone who doesn't know Tobes is pretty organised. He tells me off when I don't add to the spreadsheets. Daniel, I'm happy to point out I didn't know there was a 3rd and 4th column. I've only ever read the first 2 columns. Yeah.
I moved it across and made sure.
Me something. Just
but thankfully he put it all on the ones that I had to talk about, and he left the ones he had to talk about blank. So I was completely in the knowledge of what was going on because, if I didn't see that, I was in a lot of trouble.
You're going to end up like me, mate, if you keep doing that every time I do something stupid. You know that?
What was I just saying about putting good people around you? I think we should write a letter, Paul. If we're going to write a letter, how would you start
it? Dear Deidre. Who is Deidre?
Do you not know this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What is it?
She is the mother of the 2 trotting winners at Melton on Saturday night. She's a dam of 7 foals for 5 winners, and I think the last one actually goes very, very good as well. But she's only got the 2 live foals in Australia, and one of those is President Royden, and I can't think of the other one, Tobes.
Someone did a little bit of homework to check out what it was, didn't they? Didn't they? Do a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, so we knew what it was. So good man. And you are right, Paul. 7 foals, 5 winners. She raced 28 times herself for the 2 wins by Sundon out of a mare called Deirdre's Pride. Deirdre's Pride herself had 7 foals for 6 winners. So she's a pretty solid sort of a family. And being a Sundon mare, she's gone to Majestic Sun and produced Majestic Hurricane that won the first race at Melton, and of course then went the next year to the Prez and produced President Royden. So it's record for horses in Australia now. 11 starts, 8 wins, 2 seconds and a third, which isn't too bad. Yeah. And that third, President Royden ran third in the Vic Derby behind Un Bella Alua and Dance Craze, if you don't mind going back. And here's a little one I uncovered on President Royden as well, Paul. He's won 7 races in Australia, and he's paid $1.04, $1.04, $1.10, $1.70, $1.30, $1.50, and $1.20 when he's won his 7 races. So he has been fairly punter friendly. When he's been backed and gone around at short odds, he's generally got the job done.
He has indeed, and he's not finished yet. He's like some horses, you see them getting up onto a mark and you think, oh, how far are they going to go? But he looks like he's going to be comfortable just continuing to step up. There's no problems there. That Derby, he's got to hold together. I think we've said on this show before that we were actually fortunate enough to have him here a couple of times. That Derby run, Tobes, I think, and I'll have to clarify it with Karen, but I think Grant and Karen only got him about 3 days prior to that run as well. So don't worry about who beat him. No. Oh, no, he started. Sorry, you're right. It was a week before in the home field. No?
No, he had a couple of starts before the Derby, I think, Paul.
I think he'd had one, the home field, I think it was. So, but anyway, he's a lovely horse and all the rest. Tobes, but what's the picture down the bottom, mate? I still can't. Is that President Royden winning last night, or what's that?
That's Dear Deirdre. Oh, you got the picture up, did you? That's Dear Deirdre winning in New Zealand, Paul, back in the day.
Completely typical Toby McKinnon, completely random.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
I wasn't
we're
sure.
honouring the man, Paul.
I wasn't sure. I put it up there.
If you want to buy a good horse like that from New Zealand, go to the NZB Standardbred sales that were on by the time this goes out yesterday.
Just for the record, Cam Bray's been on the phone 3 times. You reckon he wants to talk to me? He'll just have to wait. It'll be fine. I'll cover off on that in a minute. Daniel.
True or false? Paul, quickly, true or false? Do they name the Ballarat track after him?
Yes, true. He's that big. He's that big in New Zealand, mate. That's exactly. He got the pull over here. It's all good. Something we don't seem to miss on this show is giving Kate and Andy a bit of a wrap-up at all. But I must say a treble at headquarters is a pretty big effort, isn't it, in any case? And the way these trotters are going, they're going terrific.
Yeah, they are. And the old story of Norm Jenkins getting a nice trotter from New Zealand continues. Unfortunately, this one's probably ranked about, 25th on all of the ones that they've got in the stable at the moment. It's quite ridiculous how many good trotters Andy's got in the barn. He just keeps on churning them out. Majestic Hurricane, who won the first at Melton on Saturday night, 158.7, first start from New Zealand for Norm. And it's still rated as a 69, which is just crazy. Much the same as Have Horse Will Travel. You'd think that the potential for it to win consecutive races over the next little while is pretty high to get up through the rankings. It's just incredible. They just seem to be able to keep finding these rated horses that have done pretty good over in New Zealand, and then they just put them on the boat or the plane and bring them over here, and all of a sudden they just keep winning for him and for Andy and for Kate. It's just silly, but they do a great job and can't begrudge them anything. The second winner was He's Under Wraps, the next race. This is also first up from New Zealand. It's a pacer, obviously owned by Neil Donnelly, and it was obviously a very short price favourite, led all the way, just beat Aaron Dunn's Vanity Bay, which it's a nice horse who often can do things wrong, but it's a nice type of horse. 154.4, So you'd imagine that there's going to be plenty of scope for improvement with he's under wraps. And I'm just having a look. He's a 64 rater, so there's still plenty of wins in store for that horse. And then the third leg of the treble was Eureka, who it was incredible performance, 152.6, first up from a break. They'd raced it during the sort of spring period where it sort of hadn't done too much, obviously just freshened it up a bit. And this is obviously also owned by Norm Jenkins, led all the way, 152.6. It's just a factory down there at Andy's place at the moment. They just keep churning out the winners, and it's great to see. And this horse goes very well over the sprint trip, and I reckon that's probably what they might stick to over the next little while. But good effort there by Andy to get it back after a couple of so-so runs during the spring period.
On top of that, Daniel, they had when was it, Wednesday night at Shepparton, they had Monaro Murrow set a track record, 150, I wrote it down, 155 and 8 as well on top. So, you know, that's in the Lynn McPherson Gold. Like, I think that's a Group 1 final. It's going to be very, very hard to beat on that performance. Scorch the gate and just never looked like getting beat. They got it just an amazing amount of riches in their trotting ranks. And I think the trotters are going terrific, full stop, in everyone's.
That's a track record with an asterisk balls. They run about one race every 3 years there over the distance from a mobile.
Yeah, but still, it was a 7-year-old track record, and they run the Lynn McPherson's there. Yeah. They run the Lynn McPherson's there every year. Horses like Red Hot Tooth and Dance Crows have been there to do it, Tobe. So, yeah, don't disagree with you. But anyway, track record. Hey, celebrate track records. They're good. Doesn't matter where they are.
We still hold a track record. One of my dad's horses from 1990, Paul.
Track redone up, or...
Yeah, got redone, the new distances, so still holds it. Lake Brewster at Bendigo.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of those ones, so it was, anyway, that's all.
I don't want to belittle your track record at Bendigo or anything, but we still hold ours.
No, ours is long gone. Ours has been well and truly ridden out.
Quinlan.
Yes, it's up now, Tobes. You're right. JQ's sparkling weekend, and she's had a ripper, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has, Paul, and she sort of flies under the radar a little bit, and she's always driving winners and does a fantastic job, and has been she's been driving winners for as long as Karen Manning, you know, and mightn't have quite got to the numbers of Karen, but she'd be pushing up towards 2,000, I would have thought, Jodie Quinlan, winning on Sadaka in the Ararat Cup, and it was a great drive. We mentioned it earlier. She had to drag the horse back. They went hard up front, and then she got home over the top of them. She flipped it around when she went to Melton. She went forward on Act Now, and she just kept them running. You know, the lead rate on Act Now was 29.1, so that wasn't too hard. Got away with a 30-second quarter, then ripped down the back in 26.8 and just broke their hearts. Idyllic tried hard, running a great second, really. Idyllic. You couldn't have felt any. You couldn't have felt disappointed with his effort. It was that third quarter of 26.8 was the quickest quarter on the night. So it was a great front running drive from Jodie, and then she said, "I'll go back with Diamond Cullen." And I reckon, you know, these Metro maidens, when they have a consolation, everyone thinks this is my chance to win one. They always seem to go hard in them, and it always seems to be a horse from behind that wins it. And Jodie knew all that. She was drawn 7 on Diamond Cohen. She dropped back to last, was arguably one of the higher rated and better class horses in the race. And I know how much her mum supports her and all of that. So it would have been a sparkling win with the diamond fall. That's the reference to the sparkling. Diamond Cohen winning for her mother, Cheryl, was a great result. And that was Jodie picking up 3 winners in 2 nights.
Yeah, and she does a great job. And you say about driving winners, Tobes, she gets in the Emma Stewart camp and all the rest. Horses like Act Now and those, they're not easy drives though. They're hard colts. They're not easy to get along with, and she does a great job with them. That's for sure. Yeah,
well, she's handled and dealt with one of the hardest to get along with, Paul and Craig, and she's managed to keep him under wraps for a couple of years for a long time. So if she can do that with Craig, she can keep him running without hanging and doing everything wrong. Then that would be easy.
I wasn't sure. I thought you were going to turn around and tell me that there was a horse years ago that was a handful. Hello, Craig.
Oh, she's had all those. what's the trotters that all pull and go like that? They're all
the Illawongs, yeah.
All the Illawongs.
Yeah.
She's got all the Illawongs. So if she deals with all the Illawongs, then no doubt any act nows are easy for her to play a role in. See what I did there, Paul?
We might. I might have to do a bit of a promotional video at some stage, Tobes, just for this week's show to pump it up a little bit. I might have to just cut that little section out and tag Craig into it on Twitter. I don't know.
I grew up with Craig, and lots of good fun was had, trust me, through the 90s and the early 2000s. And he's a great man, and he tries to fly under the radar, I think, Craig. But him and Jodie, they've got a pretty good thing going there, actually.
Absolutely, and they're training well and truly their share of winners now. They don't have a big stable. They're doing a good job. So, well done to them. They keep churning them out, that's for sure. Rightio, boys. Before you go too far, we have had some correspondence. Now, I know this is not on Tobes' run sheet. You can see the frown. He's not happy with me already. But we've had a couple of lookalikes come in. Firstly, Daniel, you haven't been missed this week at all in any way. And I think that's pretty much paramount for the way you look. I'm actually reasonably impressed with that. I don't know if you can see anything or hear anything, but yeah, I'm not sure how you go with that one, mate.
Well, we can't see him, so it's hard for us to react and laugh.
Well, that's all right, Tobes. And there's been another one, Tobes. I don't know where everyone gets all these ones for you. They just seem to like sending them in, but there's a lot about you in this one. But I think if you ended up like this guy did in future life, you'd be going okay in Colombo, mate. I think you'd be more than happy with that. Nothing. He's got.
Can't see it, so it's hard to comment. Who's sending these in, Paul? You say people send them in, but they've never got a story or an email or anything. I think you're just making them up, dead set.
Well, I can't divulge my sources, okay? I've been sworn to secrecy. I can't divulge my sources at all.
If I said 1.6 kilometres, would I be heading on the right track?
1.6 kilometres. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I might have just put a little...
That'd be a mile, Paul, 1.6 kilometres.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Topes, but I might have just put a little Q up there as well. I believe he may be going on SEN later in the week too. So, and if they're not the worst set of shoes you've ever seen in your life, I don't know what is. They are atrocious pair of shoes.
If it's David Miles, Paul, the reference 1.6 kilometres is a mile. So that's what the 1.6 kilometres was.
I can't divulge my sources, Topes. You know this, don't you? So we mustn't forget Jim Lobby. I got to have a little crack at him too, but I'll put
Lobby,
Jim Lobby, because he said last night that Uncle would be happy with the results. Uncle would be happy with the result of Belittled, and he said, and the rest of the family. I want to be careful calling Marie part of the Adams family. I can give you that. He will be Jim Lobby, so he'll be fine. Don't you worry. Don't you worry at all, Tobes. It's all good. And I must, my favourite. I just have to keep bringing it up. I don't know. It's just something about that one, Tobes. I really do enjoy it. No, you can't see it, Tobes. It's not that one. It's the other one. So don't you worry at all. But any correspondence is greatly appreciated. That's for sure. We have no worries there at all. Tobes, I've shut my phone down, which was a really, really smart thing to do. But your discussion point is on horse sustainability this week.
Yeah, it is, Paul. And I was going to have David Miles on Wednesday, but we'll see about that, I think. No. On SEN track this week, Paul, Tuesday, we're going to have a Tuesday tutorial at 12 o'clock, which we're going to have Rob Pongo on, and he's going to talk about the tracks and how we build the tracks, and it's all about horse sustainability and keeping the horses on the racetrack. And then at 12:30, Jordan Robinson, the head curator at Melton, is going to come on as well. And then on Wednesday, I've got David Miles coming on, and I did a bit of work on horse sustainability. So what I've done, I've worked out how many horses have had race in the last 13 months, so since January 1 last year, and then how many starts those horses have had. And for some reason, David Miles, of all the big trainers, I didn't do all the trainers, but of all the big trainers, David Miles has had 11.5 starts per horse, and he was sort of the highest of all the big trainers. Jess Tubbs was up there with about 10, and Kristen Osio was up there with about 10. Emma Stewart, as soon as I talk about this to anybody, they ask me about Emma Stewart. She was 786 starters from 105 runners, so about 7.5 per horse. Kate Hargraves, and there's probably a bit of a reason to this. She only has 6.1 starts per racehorse, but they do seem to turn a lot of horses over and on sell them. Marg Lee, only 39 horses raced with 218 starts, which is 5.6 starts. Sandra O'Connor up at Mildura. She has a lot of horses. She just seems to run them around every week. Well, she does. 17.47 starts, 17.5 starts per horse since January last year. But that's her model, you know. So I'm going to have David Miles on, and we'll talk a bit about horse sustainability and how he's getting so many runs out of his horses compared to most other trainers.
He has some different ideas. I did a stable chat with him there at one stage, and everyone enjoys the stable chats, and hopefully if we can get out of COVID, we'll be back getting a few more of them up and going. We've had a bit of a backlog of trying to get them out, and that's brought to you by Kelly Partners, Paul Dobson and the crew. But Dave Miles, feeding him once a day, never harrowing his track. He's got some even stranger ones than that. He never used to cut the grass around his track because he reckoned that stopped it blowing away. So, but anyway, he has some different ones, that's for sure. Yes, Tobes?
I understand they're not harrowing. I understand they're not harrowing the track, Paul, because I do so much trail running, which is on rocks. It's on single trails, like you've seen. We've just shown it on air, and there's so many rocks and roots and lumps and bumps. I think if anyone else did it the way I did it, they'd probably roll their ankle. But because I've been running like that for 12 or 13 years, my ankles and the muscles all in my legs down the bottom there are so strong from all that uneven surface. So having horses run on an absolute complete even surface probably doesn't strengthen up some of those muscles. So there is some actual sense in the madness from me and from David Miles.
But you don't try and go flat out. You're trail running. So that's the catch-22.
Oh, no, I run down those mountains as fast as I can, Paul. I've got all the Strava segments in the Dandenongs going downhill pretty much.
Rightio. Anyway, you'll have a riveting conversation. You want to ask him his theory about snakes. He reckons snakes don't live in long grass because you never see them in long grass. You only see them out in the road. That's his theory. He reckons they don't live in there. And I can tell you one thing. D Miles sees a snake, there's only one way he's running. He'd pass you going down the Dandenongs, that's for sure. Anyway, Daniel, nothing on the run sheet for me, mate. What's your topic this week?
Well, when I saw horse sustainability, I was sort of thinking a little bit different to what Toby had sort of gone on about. But I've just noticed over the last little while with the field sizes that we've had and the races that we've been having over the last little while, that there's obviously a lot of there might be starting a bit more pressure on the horses that are up at the moment, and we seem to be a lot of 6-horse races and 7-race cards and things like that. I know it just seems to be obviously that time of year, and obviously there's a lot of horses that have probably gone out into the paddock, but it's disappointing that Albury races there on Friday night. They had small fields in their cup, but they had small fields in their other races as well. So the horse population is certainly just a little bit stretched at the moment, and if with what Toby's sort of saying, that trainers are running their horses as much as they possibly can. It's if there's not horses coming through the other end, that 2-year-olds filling the void from those older horses, it's just going to keep putting pressure on the product that we put out, and it's we've got programming issues and other bits and pieces as well, and it's all sort of all mingled in together. And I think we sort of forget sometimes that we've got to have the horses on the field that are available, and that all boils down to sustainability, and it's a big issue.
I think one of the things on Tobes' topic, just so very quickly thinking, the trotters are a unique part of harness racing. The fact, like and it's not about me, but son of a Trump, but President Royden, they've come back from a long, long time away, and they can come back and race successfully. It's probably something that the thoroughbreds definitely can't do. 2.5 years away from a racetrack is no chance. And then you have the likes of Holly's Miss Molly. Fear Not, these horses that have been going around for such a long time. Fear Not's not actually an old horse, but she's had over 200 starts. I think that is the one thing that we can definitely do in harness racing, and definitely through the trotters. And they're only ever growing, the trotters. That's one great thing about it too. So I think they will. I think if the trotters get bigger and bigger as far as population, I think our industry will be going pretty good. I think we'll have a lot of all trotting days like Tobes wants, and I think it'll be going very, very good.
Certainly the numbers will go probably not. They're not going to ever be par with paces you wouldn't have thought, but the percentage from paces to trotters, I love the look on Toby's face there. But the difference between the amount of paces and trotters is certainly not. The gap's certainly not going to be as large as it had generally always been.
You haven't had a conversation with Duncan McPherson, has he, Tobes? Or Pat Driscoll? Because I'm telling you,
I've had conversations with two trotting blokes from Finley, Ash Haynes and Chris Shaw, and for the last 10 years, all they've told me is that the trotters are the wave of the future. So I have had to jump onto that bandwagon, and I'm not allowed to get off.
No.
Do the Finley boys use the words internationalisation and globalisation?
They do, actually. They do sort of use them. I think they've been in Duncan's... Duncan's had them listening to every word that he's said over the last few years as well.
Hot to trot and fresh is best.
Yeah, if you could bottle Duncan McPherson's enthusiasm, we'd have horse sustainability. They'd be racing 600 times a year, Paul.
It's just on Duncan. He bought a horse over from America. She's raced over there in America. She's come over here for to be part of his broodmare band, but he's going to continue to race it too. So I mean, he is really globalisation. She's won in America. She's quite a well-performed horse. I haven't got a name, but that's what we need to be able to sort of send it backwards and forwards to all these other countries.
I had a beer with him, Paul, but it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be.
They wrote a song after it, Tobes. My topic is going to be yearling sales, promotion.
You didn't put it on the run sheet.
Yearling sales, promotions.
It's not on the run sheet.
Neither did Daniel. Yearling sales, promotions, and going forward. And I think it's exceptional what New Zealand have been able to do. I've been fortunate enough to get some paid work promoting what they've done, but just the sales catalogues and what they're doing with the used to. I haven't got a cut off shot to get rid of used to. Showing the legs, showing the way they do it, and it's going to be. I think it's only better. And you look at the sales today in New Zealand, 80% clearance rate, and the average of $40,000. A top sailor, there was one sold for $300,000. If you don't mind, lot 122. It's pretty exceptional, and I think it's just going to be the way of the future that people keep stepping up. We saw it last week with APG. Their sales was up, their clearances were up. With Nutrien coming in and changing things up as well, I think it's only going to be good and be a good way to get people invested into the industry as well. Especially if you just become an owner, bought a horse last week at the APG, and then all of a sudden today you hear that's one of the other sales sold one for $300,000. Gives you a bit of confidence in the industry that it's going forward. That's for sure. Neither one of them's going to talk to me. That's fine. Do not care. Rightio.
What about in Tassie, Paul? I've just gone to Tassie. I've bought 100 mares. I've acquired 100 mares for nothing. I bought a stallion for 10,000. I'm going to get all of them in foal, and they're all going to land on the ground. I'll get 100 lots of $2,000 as a bonus.
Yeah, I know. Did you see that, Daniel? I did an interview with them from Tassie. It's just amazing. There.
No, I hadn't heard that.
I'm actually going to.
They get $2,000 bonus when the foal lands on the ground.
Wow. So they get off. They get of 12,000, Daniel. So as soon as the foal's born. So their bonus is of 12,000. As soon as the foal's born, they get $2,000. Just has to be, doesn't have to race, doesn't have to do anything else like that. $6,000 goes to the person who actually owns it when it wins a Tassie race. $4,000 of that goes back to the breeders. Of that $4,000, they get $2,000 cash in their hand, and they get a $2,000 breeding bonus to turn around and breed that mare again, to turn around and get a foal on the ground and get another $2,000 cash. It's just seems a no-brainer. And then off that sale, Tobes, the other day, $5,000 bonus on top of that if you did that. And if you bought one at the sale, Daniel, they'll put $500 towards the breaking in costs. That's all through Tas Racing. I reckon well done to them. I think thinking outside the square, it's just ridiculous, that's for sure. So I've got to find out how that sale went. Actually, I better touch base with Mel and just see how it went. They only had 10 lots, but they had a Sweet Lou out of a half-sister to bow-tied. So I reckon it would have caught a bit of attention. Filly, it would have caught a bit of attention for a lot of breeders anyway, that's for sure. So there's no hassles. Just very quickly before we get on to the other stuff, did you see last night at Melton? 25-3 first quarter. That was and it got beat. That was Ignatius Race. I can't think of the name of the horse. Cash and Flow. 25-3. Menangle. Where did I say, Melton?
Menangle.
Yeah, Menangle. So, yeah, just extraordinary lead times when they can get off the arm like that and run a 25-3. It's just ridiculous. No comments again.
It's just a crazy speed. It's a crazy speed, and it sort of makes it, when you're going that quick, it makes it really difficult at the back end to sort of be able to, to have anything left because you've burned a fair bit of petrol in the first 400 metres of a race going that quick.
That's 141.2 pace.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't go that quick.
They get the Americans sitting up if they could, that's for sure. So, anyway, now, normally I throw to Daniel, but there's been just a little bit of controversy this week that the Barrastock winner has been overruled. So, I
get a $9 winner and I get the sack. What's going on?
You sat up in your chair at the wrong time. I just flicked the slide up for it, Daniel, so it's all good.
Ah, well.
Toby's Barrastock.
We thought you'd be on a beach in Hawaii or something, spending some of your winnings.
No, not with COVID, unfortunately. We're in lockdown, remember? So
Toby's Barrastock, Shepparton runner to follow. It doesn't matter. Barrastock are great sponsors of Shepparton. But Toby, you found one. Unfortunately, I did record the video, the trial and everything like that, but failed to put it into our audio stuff. But pretty impressive 2-year-old that trialled the other night at Terang, or the other day.
The other night at Terang, Paul. Tuesday night trials are on at Terang, and I got the gig calling the trials somehow. And if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to watch this horse go around. It's a horse called Botanist. That's why we called it the Plant. It was a plant, Paul, because of the botanist reference. By Roll with Joe from a mare called Roll the Night Away, which is the Homestead Farms John Yeoman's breed, the Risque Reader, I'm Smouldering family. And they paid $15,000 for the APG, the McDowell family. And that's the family that have the horse Lumineer, who did a pretty good job for him, but it's been riddled with injuries. It trialled very impressively. It was only a 2-year-old taking on the older horses. It failed to get around the last corner. Its legs were scrambling and all over the place. But once it balanced up in the home straight, it got to the line very, very nicely. It was very fired up in the stables beforehand, like it hadn't seen other horses at the track like that, and it would have been a fairly daunting experience for the horse. I'd expect it'll trial again in a couple of weeks. It'll improve off that trial. And I'd say it'll be the sort of horse that'll be up to its eyeballs in the APG finals this year. Also, Paul, you'll like this. Lot 13 at the Nutrient sale this year, there is a horse for sale from that family, so from Homestead Farm. So if you want to get into that family and potentially be part of a family that's going to have the APG winner this year, Lot 13 in the Nutrient sale.
What's it by, Topes, or am I throwing you under the bus?
Under the bus there.
Sorry, mate. Didn't mean that.
A really good stallion, Paul. Good stallion.
I didn't mean that, and I know where my catalogue is, so there's no point me looking for it. It's down on the lounge room floor, and I'm upstairs, so I'm not even going to go try it.
Mine's on the coffee table inside.
Yeah. No, mine's definitely down there. I've got no hope. But we will be ramping up a lot for Nutrient going forward. Now, Topes, looking after the sponsors all around. Daniel, you just sit back, mate. You just kick back and just relax, all right? It's all good. Don't you worry about that. I'll actually just throw you a look. That was the wrong one.
What's 13 on the Nutrient sale, man?
Look, I will. No worries. Carry on.
Tobes?
The website's easy to follow through. Great website, the Nutrient Star.
It is very good indeed.
Ruby Baby.
Thank you.
Ruby Baby is Woodland Stud. Woodland Stud horse to follow, Paul. This one's by Better's Delight out of a mare called Mamunia. There was a Christian Cullen. Now, it's won 4 in a row, Ruby Baby, but I wanted to talk about the mare a little bit. She had 4 foals before she was acquired by Woodland Stud, and none of them were winners. No comment any further. 4 foals, no winners. Goes to Woodland Stud and produces Ruby Baby, a Better's Delight, Ideal and Gold, and American Ideal, and Sweet Joy, who's a 2-year-old yet to race by Sweet Blue. So the first 2, once they get to Woodland Stud, start winning races. So I'm not commenting on anything any further, but Woodland Stud just bringing the success to the sport, Paul.
They've had a good sale too. Mark Hughes has sent me a message since we've been on. Don't worry about that. They're pretty cock-hoop. And they're going to do a lot more stuff going forward, Tobe. So you keep wearing that shirt with pride, mate. Don't you worry about it.
I look after your sponsors, and you just keep getting the sheets. Don't worry about it.
It's all right. I might pass you one day. It'll be fine. Don't you worry about that. Daniel, how's the homework going?
Yeah, struggling here at the moment, but keep going.
That's it. The run sheet is done.
No, I'm done.
It's going to be a bit of an interesting week, boys, going forward. I was, as far as I know, technically are still heading to Terang, but maybe that'll change. We don't know at the minute with COVID. Tobes, you're on SEN all week, which you're enjoying, and you're doing a bit of different stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, I am. I've got the week on SEN, Paul. I've given it a pretty good run already, so it'll be a week basically looking at horse sustainability going forward on Tuesday's tutorial. We've got the Metro Spective tomorrow where we wrap up all the weekend's racing, and then into Tuesday tutorial and Wednesday tutorial, then Thursday, Friday we'll be looking towards the weekend and the Terang Cup.
All roads go to the Crane. Very quickly, I've got to say big thank you to Terang. They put my name as sponsors of those trials, and I must say a big shout out and thank you very much. I hope, Daniel, you would hope that the race caller mentioned it 3 or 4 times during each trial, wouldn't you?
No, just in the lead up to each trial, Paul. Just in the lead up to each trial, and that was a thank you to you for giving up your time and going to Ballarat that day when we did a show in the bus depot at Ballarat. I don't know if you saw it then, but there was buses coming within about half a metre of us. It got real hairy for me, and it got real baldy for Paul. What does it get what's the equivalent of hairy for you, Paul?
Goosebumpy, I suppose. I don't know. Not sure.
Goosebumpy.
There is so many lines that I could say. It was very funny, Daniel, and possibly there'd be people sitting there saying, "What are these 2 clowns doing?" You've never seen so many yellow coats not keen to get into the picture, but they were standing there making sure that no one hit us, and we didn't do anything to those. But it was a lot of fun going forward, and. Unfortunately, curveball's been thrown this week, Tobes. We might have to try and do a preview midweek or something like that, Tobes. Another correspondence this way or something. We'll just see how we go later in the week. See what happens with the COVID and the lockdown with Dynamite Dan Andrews and what he's doing. So going forward, Daniel, Bendigo Greyhounds again or not? Dulcet Tones were there Friday night. I heard them Friday night.
I had Bendigo Friday night. I've got Shepparton Monday. So once this drops, 7 o'clock Monday night, the dogs will be calling there again. Then I've got about a week off until I do a Saturday morning matinee program at Bendigo, and my March is filled up very quickly. I've now got 8 meetings to call in March. So the next port of call is going to be the accountant because, I need to have some offshore bank accounts in the Caribbean, I think.
Listen to it, will you?
No, not quite, but...
you and Paul can get a joint bank account.
I was more worried about you going and having a matinee with Troy Harley. I was going, what the hell is going on here?
No. But no, it's very good calling over at Bendigo. I very much enjoy doing it, and doing Bendigo and Shep for the next little while with quite a few meetings, which is good. And we'll see if we can throw some trot meetings in there somewhere along the track as well. So I have successfully done my homework for you. I have found the Lot 13 in the nutrient sale, and it's out of I'm Smouldering, and it's by a rock and roll band.
That's right, a rock and roll band.
Took me long enough, but we found it.
Who won the last race at Yarra Valley, Dan?
Not you.
Wow, you can dance.
This is the randomness we have to put up with. Daniel, I'm just going to actually throw your lookalike just up very, very quickly because I do think it's pretty good. Dave Miles has got a lot to answer to. There's no hassles there at all.
I'm not going to name him, but Dave Miles.
No, we'll just throw him under the bus. He's fine. He'll be enjoying it. Don't worry about that. He puts it in his pocket and listens to us every Tuesday morning. I think he starts listening to us so as he can get some ammunition up. There's no problems there at all, and I'll actually be there tomorrow doing horses' teeth. Team Teal's going terrific. I don't have a running totally going for it this week, but Troy Harley and the Greyhounds, I think they've trained nearly another 11 winners. So for the lady trainers there, so doing a great job as well. Good mate of mine, Troy Harley. Tobes, 100% right, mate. I reckon that'll do us. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck for the week. Tobes, good luck with SEN. Hopefully Jason Bonington can get back out and do his pie roundup. He's creating a little bit going on with the square pies, but I think he needs to get to the country. There's no such thing as a real pie in Melbourne, I don't think, but we'll let him go. Boys, thank you very much.